Okay, hope you see the slide. Directory and disk structure. Okay, what is called a directory? Directory, that is means that directory is a storage location. If we want to store file data into the directory. Okay, so directory is used to store the metadata information about the file. Metadata means the data about data, whatever the schema information or whatever the attribute information, which type of data, or which size we are dedicating for the data, or which location we are preserving for that data storage. So this complete information regard the data or file that could be served inside the directory. So directory can be defined as the it is a relating storage location to store the related files. Okay, so file information, file attributes that will be stored inside the directory depends on the partition or main hard disk that will be divided into the number of partitions into the this with the different size. Each partition, please keep it mic. Shejin, Shejin, please mute the mic. Oh, okay. So each partition inside the disk, it contain at least one directory. So directory, it will be maintained or it will be used to store the information regarding the file. So a directory can be viewed like this. Each hard disk portion or a storage portion, it contain different partitions, and partition, each partition, it contain the related informations about the file and the metadata information. So metadata information means it contain different attributes regarding the files. Metadata means the data about the data. So the type, the size, and regarding information of the core information related to the file directory that will be saved inside the partition. So in directory, it contains so many partitions. Depends on each partition, it contain one file. Shijin, okay, so here the directory architecture or the each partition inside the disk, it will contain the set of directories and the metadata information record the files. Okay, so every directory, it contain the number of common operations like that: file creation, search for the file, file deletion, rename the file, traversing file, listing of file. These are the main operations that will be held inside the directory. Okay, so inside the directory, it contain different types of directory architecture will be there. One is single level architecture or two level directory architecture. First one, single level directory, it means it is the simplest method when we want to store a big list of the file into the disk. It contain only one directory to store the entire information regarding the file system. So all the files and its information regarding information that will be saved inside the same directory. So in number of files will be there, so the directory size will be large. If we want to store multiple files or a large amount of files, we need to store inside a directory. That information contained in a single level directory, it will be much more big size. Okay, So the advantages is implementation is very simple because each file is entered into a single directory, and each partition it will be contain its own metadata information. So the searching of the file information or searching of the data that will be goes faster inside the single level directory. File creation, searching, deletion is very simple compared to multiple levels of directory architecture. But if we insert the disadvantages or drawback, it means that if the same name of files we could insert it could not be implemented inside the single level architecture. When we want to store multiple amount of file structure, it need the directory size is too big. So the protection and the security feature of the directory that could be maintained much more complex, and the same kind of files to group. There are no ways to group the same kind of files. That are the drawback of the single level directory. Two level directory, it means that we create separate directory for each user. One is the master directory and other one is used to certain information regarding the file or a particular user information that will be served inside the second directory. So for each user there is different or different directory set will be available. So in the when a user's directory, that two level directory that will be inserted or created, the information when we passed into that directory, it will be protected by the user authority or user authorized information that is need to when we want to insert some data into a particular user directory. So the security concern or protection that will be much more enabled inside the multi-level or two-level directory. So master directory, it contain the user information. So each user, it particularly it contain the second set of directories. In that directory only the particular user information or user files that could be saved. So user one, it contain user directories, whatever the files or directory entries that the user one is enabled, that will be served inside the directory, and by using that directory information or metadata information, the appropriate file that could be retrieved. So this is the master directory and the user directory. So the user directories, when we want to insert one data or particular information other than the or already available information, or other than new information, we could not insert it into the user directories instead of by using protection mechanism or any user authorization mechanism that could be used to check with the whether if a new content that could be saved into a particular user directory. So the characteristics of two-level directory system, each file has a path name like that, username and a directory name. Which user we need to point it, that could be initially pointed to the master directory, and by using the particular username, which directory from the directory set, each information of the corresponding users information or user files that could be saved, the particular directory name that could be selected, and on that basis only the particular file could be searched and retrieved, and any particular file could be entered into that particular file. So searching become more efficient compared with the single level or single level directory. So the every operating or single same kind of files cannot be grouped into a single directory for a particular user. Each actually one user one, it contain a particular directory that is basically a single level directory. But in the case of multiple users, that could be shared in a master's directory, that will be enabled two level directory scheme. If one user one, its own individual files or directories, it will be a single level architecture. So multiple single level that could be combined, it is known as two level directory architecture. Okay, so it will be provided or it will be protected by using a password or a user authorization. So after only verifying the user, particular user only, we could enter the data into a particular directory. So the next directory architecture, it will be called tree structure directory. Tree structure directory means it contain one main or root directory, and also it contain different subdirectories. So here the tree structure directory system overcomes the drawback by means of the same kind of similar files we could group it together into a one directory. That is the advantage of the tree structure directory. That means when we want to modify something in the tree like architecture or a tree structure directory, we need the permission from the particular router structure with the home or routers data. Only the administrator or the authorized person could complete, or it could be accessed or modified the root system. Okay, so in this architecture, the searching or data or retrieval of the data from a particular subdirectory, it could be efficient. Okay, so a file can be accessed by a one is its relative path it will be get, or absolute path it will be get from the root node itself. The absolute path is the correct, or it will be respect to the root directory system, and after reaching the current directory, the path will be displayed. That is the absolute path of the particular file or the data content. First, the tree level architecture, it will be root directory that will be pointed inside the system. Whatever the root directory, that will be the initial node, and from that root directory, whatever the users or whatever the list, whatever the files or directories that is included inside that, it will be represented like a substructure or sub nodes or a child nodes. And again, based on the sub nodes, we could again reach to the leaf node. In the leaf node itself, the files will be available. So here the second part and the third part from the figure, it will be represented the master directory or a two level directory architecture. In the third level or the leaf level, that will be performed the single level level directory architecture. So the tree like architecture, that will be much more efficient compared to the previous directory or level architecture. So when a file we need to retrieve from the tree like architecture, we need to assign some set of permissions into the each file in the directory. The permissions are read, write, or uh, whatever the permission or whatever the task with the read, write combination, it will be perform, or execution that will be performed. The permissions are reader, writer, execution. The permissions assigned to owner permission will be there, group permission will be there, and others permission will be there. So there is an identification bit that will be used to which directory or which file it need to access, or which we need to read or write or execute. That will be represented by using a dot operator. Okay, so dot, with using a dot, we could represent the particular file name and a file content. The next one is acyclic graph structured directory. Acyclic graph means it is similar to the tree like architecture. That means it contain no closed loop. That's only that word meaning, acyclic. So acyclic graph means it contain a graph tree. It is different with the graph. It means that nodes it will be represented, and from each node there will be connection to the some other nodes too. It will be a closed loop, otherwise it will be a, it not be a closed loop. And it can contain some direction also, from which node, which vector, or inside the graph, the representation of nodes particular, it will be called the vertices. That vertices which will be connected through the edges. Okay, so from that edges only the path of the file that could be identified. So each file or each subdirectory, it will be identified by using this graph architecture or vertices, and with the edges that could be mapped to find the particular graph or particular file directory paths that could be identified inside the graph. Okay, so the links can either be logical, or it can be a physical, or it can be a direction based, or it can be a non-direction based. Or if a file gets deleted in a cyclic graph, it in the case of soft link, the file just deleted, and it will be pointed as the dancing pointer. Dancing pointer means the node is empty. In case of hard link, the file, if it is deleted, all the references it will be deleted. So that means it contain the root directory, that will be a user node that will be there, and from that or from vertices, what are the edges that will be connected to the particular user's files and its own information, and this will be connected to multiple users also. That is the architecture of graph architecture. Inside that connectivity, this is not include any cyclic formation or a closed loop formation. That's only it will be called a cyclic graph substructure or a acyclic graph structured directory. So here, when we want to insert something, if we need a permission to the corresponding a particular user node, then only we could enter our data or retrieve data or delete data from a particular file. If we deleted one node, that is depends on which type of link that is established inside the nodes and vertices, then only we could delete the function or delete the files. If we delete any file, in case of the link formed as a soft link, the data it will be, or file it will be user desktop or user one projects, another file is there. If I want to delete one file, the user one project, that will be pointed to a something empty file location, that will be that is the soft link condition. If we want to create delete some files in a hard link position, the file one, then inside the project, then the user one, so that is will be the link, entire link will be deleted from the graph architecture. So when a directory or a file information or a metadata that will be served inside the uh, directory architecture only. Directory, it is used to store the information regarding the file. That is the concept of directory structure. Okay, so how the directory that will be maintained? When a file is information, that means the metadata information of a file that could be saved inside the directory based on the four type of architecture. First one is single level directory architecture. Each one or each information that will be available in one directory only, that information and its or that directory content, it directly contact with the files or data itself. Single level or apart from the single level, two level directory, that means when we create a user information only, it will be contain master directory. Then the corresponding users file data or data information that will be saved inside the user directory. So user directory, from the user directory only, when we inserted or deleted or accessed a particular data, it could need the user directory. For user authorization, we could need only that information, or the so that's type of protection that will be maintained inside the master directory and the user directory. Okay, so the next directory feature or implementation is tree structure directory, and root node will be there. That is, whatever the root systems or root nodes included in the particular system, that is assigned as the root directory. So from the root directory, the subnodes or the child nodes that will be displayed, and the child nodes itself, it will be called the user directories, and that is a master directory, and user information that will be held in intermediate directory, intermediate nodes. From that master directory, the corresponding users files will be served or inserted in the leaf node. This is the architecture, it will be called root or tree structured architecture. When we want to insert something into or delete something from the tree structure directory, we need the permission to the root directory. If an authorized person or an administrator only modify the root directory position. Okay, so then the next one is acyclic graph structure directory. So by using this graphical architecture without the closing loop, multiple users files that will be interconnected together to form a graph like architecture without using closed loop architecture. So that's why it is called a acyclic graph. Without cyclic, that is called an acyclic graph. So inside the graph, vertices that there, and edges will be there. These edges will be linked to the corresponding file data of a particular user. So it will be maintain the directory level of uh, first one is master directory, then second one is user directory, and the third level is the uh, file data information. So it will be performed, or it will be constructed by using two different links. One is logical link and another one is physical link. If it is this logical link, the data could be deleted, the remaining portions that will be remain the same, that only data could be removed from the particular position. Then in the physical link, that entire connection path will be removed after removing or after deleting anything in the acyclic graph structure directories. Okay, hope you this is a simple or a single topic, directory and a disk structure. Okay, so I will put one cues. You just do that. Okay, I will share the screen. Hope you see this. Oh, I finished this activity only. Just a minute. Hope you see this QR code. Please unmute and say, is this visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
you just scan it and say. Okay. Is it okay now? After completing the quiz, you can leave. Okay.